What happens when a beloved actress is pushed too far by a host who refuses to listen? In just 46 seconds, one comment will trigger the most shocking exit in daytime television history. The Loose Women's studio is buzzing with its usual energy. The panel sits ready. Denise Welch in the center chair, flanked by Kay Adams, Nadia Sawalha, and Jane Moore. The cameras are rolling. The audience is settled. And walking onto the set is Miriam Margolyes, and the acclaimed actress known for her sharp wit and even sharper honesty. Miriam settles into the guest chair, her warm smile greeting the panel and audience. The interview starts pleasantly enough. Denise leans forward with that familiar grin, the one that suggests she's about to ask something she thinks is clever. So Miriam, we all know you're not one to hold back, Denise begins. You've made quite a career out of saying exactly what you think. Haven't you? There's something in her tone. Something that makes Miriam's smile tighten, just slightly. I believe in honesty, Miriam replies carefully. I think audiences appreciate authenticity. Denise laughs, but it's the kind of laugh that feels like a weapon. Authenticity. Right. Some might call it being deliberately provocative, though, wouldn't they? Kay shifts in her seat, sensing the tension starting to build. She tries to steer the conversation. Miriam, tell us about your new project. We're all so excited to hear about it. But Denise isn't finished. She cuts across Kay's attempt to redirect. No, I think this is interesting. Because Miriam, you've said some pretty outrageous things over the years. Do you ever think maybe you take it too far? Maybe you say things just for attention? The audience goes quiet. You can feel the air in the studio change. Miriam sits up a little straighter, her eyes narrowing. I say things because they're true, Miriam responds, her voice steady but firmer now. I don't perform controversy, Denise. I simply refuse to pretend. But isn't that exactly what you're doing? Denise presses, leaning back with her arms crossed. Creating a persona? The outspoken actress who shocks everyone? Nadia tries to intervene. I think what Miriam does is refreshing, actually. In an industry where everyone's so carefully managed, and nobody asked you. Nadia, Denise snaps, not even looking at her fellow panelist. The studio goes even quieter. Nadia's mouth drops open slightly. Jane Moore raises her eyebrows. This is live television, and Denise has just dismissed one of her own colleagues on air. Miriam's expression hardens. That was incredibly rude. Oh, was it? Denise turns back to Miriam with that same sharp smile. You can dish it out, but you can't take it? That's interesting. There's a difference between honesty and cruelty, Miriam says, her voice carrying that distinctive clarity that's made her such a respected actress. What you just did to your colleague was cruel. Denise laughs again, but it's forced now. This is rich coming from you. You who's built an entire career on being shocking and rude to people. I've never been rude without cause, Miriam counters. And I've certainly never silenced someone who was trying to contribute to a conversation. What you just did was belittling. Kay tries again. Look, let's all just take a breath here and... Kay, please, Denise interrupts, holding up a hand. I'm having a conversation with our guest. No, Miriam says firmly. You're not having a conversation. You're performing some kind of aggressive interrogation. Bollock, and I'm not sure what I've done to deserve it. The audience is completely silent now. Some of them are leaning forward in their seats. The cameras are capturing every second of this unraveling. You haven't done anything, Denise says with exaggerated sweetness. I'm just asking questions. Isn't that what interviewers do? Or are you only comfortable when you're the one asking the questions and making the cutting remarks? Jane Moore finally speaks up. Denise, I think maybe we should... Jane, not now. Denise doesn't even glance at her. Miriam's face is flushed now, but her voice remains controlled. You've dismissed 2 of your colleagues in the space of 2 minutes. You've accused me of being provocative while actively trying to provoke me. And you're doing this all on live television. What exactly are you trying to achieve here? I'm trying to have an honest conversation, Denise fires back. But you seem very defensive for someone who claims to value honesty. I'm not defensive, Miriam says, her voice rising slightly now. I'm appalled. I came here to talk about my work, to have a pleasant conversation, and instead, you've turned this into some kind of hostile attack. Attack? Denise scoffs. Oh, please. If this is an attack, you must live a very sheltered life. I'm just asking you to reflect on your own behavior, on your own history of saying outrageous things. Like what? Miriam demands. What specifically are you referring to? Denise waves her hand vaguely. Oh, you know, all the controversial statements over the years, the shocking comments, the times you've offended people. Be specific, Miriam insists. If you're going to accuse me of something, have the courage to be specific. I don't need to list them, Denise says dismissively. Everyone knows. No. Go on, Miriam leans forward. I'd love to hear what you think I should be ashamed of. The tension is unbearable now. Kay is gripping the edge of the desk. Nadia looks like she wants to disappear. Jane is staring at Denise with an expression of disbelief. Denise seems to realize she's painted herself into a corner. She pivots. Look, all I'm saying is that you've made a career out of being controversial, and now, when someone asks you about it, you get upset. It seems hypocritical. What's hypocritical, Miriam says, her voice like ice now, is you sitting there pretending to champion honesty while being dishonest about your own intentions. You didn't invite me here for a conversation. You invited me here so you could try to take me down a peg, and I have to wonder why. What have I ever done to you? This isn't personal, Denise insists, but her face is reddening. This is professional. This is me doing my job. Your job is to make your guests feel attacked and your colleagues feel silenced, Miriam asks. That's an interesting interpretation of television presenting. Denise's eyes flash. My job is to ask the questions other people are afraid to ask. No, Miriam corrects her. Your job is to facilitate interesting conversations, to bring out the best in your guests, to create an environment where people feel comfortable sharing. You've done none of those things. What you've done is create a hostile environment where you're the only one allowed to speak freely. That's not true, Denise protests, but her voice wavers slightly. Isn't it? Miriam gestures to the other panelists. You've shut down Nadia. You've shut down Jane. You've shut down Kay. The only voice you want to hear is your own, attacking me. Kay tries one more time. Maybe we should move on to... There's nothing to move on to, Miriam interrupts gently, but firmly. She stands up. I'm not going to sit here and be insulted by someone who lacks the self-awareness to see what she's doing. The studio erupts in murmurs. The audience is stunned. The other panelists freeze. Sit down, Denise says, trying to regain control. Miriam, sit down. We're in the middle of a show. No, Miriam says simply. I don't think I will. You can't just walk off, Denise says, her voice rising. This is live television. Yes, it is, Miriam agrees. Which means everyone watching can see exactly what kind of host you are, what kind of colleague you are. She begins removing her microphone. Her hands are steady, her movements deliberate. This is ridiculous, Denise sputters. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Miriam asks calmly. Or am I simply refusing to participate in whatever this spectacle is supposed to be? Nadia suddenly speaks up, her voice stronger now. Miriam, I'm so sorry. This isn't what we intended. I know, Miriam says kindly, giving Nadia a warm look. You tried to make this pleasant. You all did. But she wouldn't let you. She points at Denise, who's gone bright red now. Don't you dare, Denise starts. I'll dare whatever I like, Miriam says firmly. You don't control me. Denise, you can try to humiliate me. You can try to provoke me, but you don't control me. and I choose not to sit here for one more second while you demonstrate your inability to treat people with basic respect. Jane Moore is nodding slightly. Kay looks torn between horror and relief. Nadia is openly sympathetic. Denise is scrambling now. You're overreacting. I was just doing my job. If you can't handle a few tough questions... Tough questions? Miriam's laugh is sharp. You didn't ask me one substantial question. You made accusations. You were dismissive. You were rude to everyone here. That's not journalism, Denise. That's bullying. The word hangs in the air. Bullying. How dare you? Denise breathes. How dare you accuse me of... Of what? Miriam challenges. Of exactly what you've been doing for the past 10 minutes. Everyone here saw it. Everyone at home is seeing it. You're not a victim here, Denise. You created this situation. I created a situation where a guest can't handle being challenged. Denise shoots back desperately. You created a situation where you alienated everyone on this panel, including your own colleagues. Miriam corrects. Look at them, Denise. Really look at them. Denise finally glances at her fellow panelists. Kay won't meet her eyes. Nadia is looking at Miriam with clear admiration. Jane's expression is carefully neutral, but her jaw is tight. They're fine, Denise says weakly. Are they? Miriam asks. Are they really? The silence is deafening. Miriam finishes removing her microphone and sets it carefully on the chair. I've been in this industry for a very long time. I've been interviewed by the best and the worst. And I can tell you, Denise, this was one of the worst. Not because of tough questions, but because of your complete lack of grace, of curiosity, of basic human decency. You can't talk to me like that, Denise says, but there's no power behind it anymore. I just did, Miriam says. And unlike you, I meant every word I said. I didn't come here to play games or score points. I came here to have a conversation. You made that impossible. She turns to the audience. I'm so sorry you had to witness this. I hope the rest of your day is more pleasant than this has been. And with that, Miriam Margolyes walks off the set. The cameras keep rolling. They show Denise, frozen in her chair, her mouth opening and closing like she's trying to find words that won't come. They show Kay staring straight ahead. They show Nadia with tears in her eyes. They show Jane slowly shaking her head. For several long seconds, nobody speaks. The audience is completely silent. The studio crew doesn't know what to do. Finally, Kay clears her throat. Well, we're going to take a quick break. The cameras cut away, but the damage is done. In those few minutes, everyone watching saw exactly what happened. They saw a host who thought she could intimidate and belittle a guest. They saw a guest who refused to accept that treatment. They saw colleagues who were silenced and dismissed. They saw the consequences of confusing aggression with journalism. Denise had walked into that interview thinking she was in control, thinking she could push Miriam around, make her uncomfortable, create dramatic television. What she didn't expect was that Miriam would see exactly what she was doing and refuse to play along. What she didn't expect was that her own colleagues would be so clearly on Miriam's side. What she didn't expect was that she would be the one left looking small. Because that's what happens when you mistake cruelty for strength. When you think putting others down will lift you up. When you forget that respect is something you have to give to receive. Miriam Margolyes came to that studio expecting a conversation. She got an ambush, and instead of shrinking, instead of accepting it, she stood up and walked away with her dignity intact. She called out exactly what was happening. She didn't raise her voice beyond what was necessary. She didn't insult or attack. She simply stated the truth of what everyone could see, that Denise had created a hostile environment and expected everyone to just accept it. The walk-off wasn't planned. It wasn't a stunt. It was a woman who had spent decades in the entertainment industry recognizing a bad situation and removing herself from it. It was someone who valued herself enough to not sit there and be diminished. Denise had tried to portray Miriam as someone who dishes it out but can't take it. What she actually revealed was that Miriam knows the difference between honesty and hostility, between being forthright and being cruel, then between asking tough questions and launching personal attacks. Every attempt Denise made to regain control just showed how little control she actually had. Every time she tried to dismiss one of her colleagues, it showed her isolation. Every time she accused Miriam of overreacting, it highlighted how unreasonable her own behavior had been. The other panelists' reactions told their own story. Kay's attempts to redirect the conversation, Nadia's apology, Jane's silent judgment. These weren't scripted moments. These were real people reacting to a real situation that had spiraled completely out of control. And at the center of it all was Miriam, maintaining her composure even as she made her exit. Not storming off in a rage, not hurling insults, just calmly, clearly explaining why she wouldn't stay, and then following through. The microphone removal was symbolic. It was Miriam literally disconnecting from a situation she wanted no part of. Each movement was measured, so deliberate. She wasn't going to be rushed. She wasn't going to be intimidated into staying. When she addressed the audience directly, she showed something Denise hadn't: empathy. She acknowledged that they had witnessed something uncomfortable. She wished them well. Even in her exit, she was gracious in a way Denise had never managed to be during the entire interview. That final image of Denise, speechless and defeated, said everything. The host who had been so eager to talk, so quick to interrupt, suddenly had nothing to say. The woman who had tried to make Miriam look bad had only succeeded in exposing her own flaws. Because when you strip away all the pretense, that's what this moment was about. It was about one person trying to use their position to diminish another, and it backfiring completely. It was about the difference between actual strength and the appearance of strength, between confidence and arrogance, between asking hard questions and simply being hard. Miriam didn't need to destroy Denise. She didn't need to match her aggression or stoop to her level. All she had to do was refuse to participate and let Denise's own behavior speak for itself. And it spoke volumes. The 46 seconds that changed everything weren't the lead up to the walk-off. They were the moment when Denise dismissed Nadia, revealing her true colors. Everything after that was just the natural consequence of that moment. Once that mask slipped, once it became clear what kind of interview this really was, the ending was inevitable. Miriam gave Denise chances to change course. She pointed out the rudeness. She called out the behavior. She asked direct questions about what Denise was trying to achieve. Each time, Denise doubled down. Each time, she made it worse. That's the thing about being a bully. You think you're showing strength, but you're actually showing weakness. You think you're in control, but you're revealing how little control you have over yourself. You think you're winning, but you're losing in ways you can't even see. Denise lost the respect of her colleagues. She lost the respect of her guest. She lost the respect of her audience. And she did it all while the cameras were rolling, creating a permanent record of her failure. Miriam, on the other hand, walked away with her reputation enhanced. She showed grace under pressure. She stood up for herself and for the other panelists who had been silenced. She demonstrated that you don't have to accept poor treatment just because you're on someone else's show. The beauty of Miriam's exit was its simplicity. She didn't need a dramatic speech or a big gesture. She just needed to state the obvious truth and remove herself from the situation. The power wasn't in what she said, though her words were effective. The power was in what she did, in making it clear through her actions that she wouldn't tolerate being treated that way. For anyone watching who had ever been in a similar situation, who had ever been talked over or dismissed or attacked under the guise of honest conversation, Miriam's walk-off was satisfying. It was a reminder that you don't have to sit there and take it. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply leave. Denise had gambled that Miriam would feel obligated to stay, that the pressure of live television, the audience, the cameras, would keep her in that chair no matter what. She was wrong, and in being wrong, in misjudging Miriam so completely, Denise revealed just how little she understood about the person she was trying to intimidate. You can't bully someone who knows their own worth. You can't diminish someone who refuses to be diminished. The aftermath was left hanging in that studio. The uncomfortable silence. The panelists not knowing where to look. The audience processing what they'd just witnessed. The crew trying to figure out how to proceed. All of it a direct result of one person deciding that humiliation was entertainment and discovering, too late, that it absolutely was not. Miriam Margolyes walked off that set with her head high, and Denise Welch was left sitting in the wreckage of an interview she had orchestrated and destroyed entirely on her own.